Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Talk and Travel with Terry and Darcy. I'm your East Coast host, Darcy McKillop, coming to you from Douglas, New Brunswick. And with me, as always, is Terry Hawkins out in Kelowna, BC. How are things today, Terry?
Doing really good here, Darcy. We're heading into fall. Things have cooled a little bit, but really enjoying the fall weather here.
Yeah, we've definitely turned the corner towards fall. Still a couple of days away from the official start date, but those temperatures have dropped out here as well. Still wearing shorts, but now you got to put on some socks and maybe a sweater. So we're back for another edition of our news show, and we have a little bit special show today. We have a little bit of surprise coming up later on, but we'll jump into our news updates. So as always, we're starting with cruise news. So Terry, take it away.
Thank you, Darcy. Avalon Waterways has announced that the Avalon Alegria will begin sailing the Douro River in Portugal in 2024. The new all-suite ship will carry up to 104 passengers and 14 deluxe staterooms and 37 panorama suites as she sails down what I've been told is one of the most beautiful river cruise itineraries in all of Europe. And I will be able to tell you all about what it's like to sail with Avalon very soon. I board the Avalon Tapestry 2 for a cruise down the Seine River later this month.
Looking forward to see how that's like for you, Terry, because I'm jealous. Moving over to Princess Cruises, the Princess has unveiled its first Sphere-class ship. It will be named the Sun Princess. The Sun Princess will be the largest ship in Princess's fleet, with 2,157 staterooms and a capacity for 4,300 passengers. There will be 1,500 balconies, 50 suites, and 100 connecting rooms, but no solo staterooms, making it clear that Princess Cruises is fully committed to the change in its focus from an older crowd to families and multi-generational travelers. So a bit of a change in Princess there. And also, for those of you that are looking forward to the new Love Boat, it's not the same as it used to be. It is now a reality show, but still using Princess as its backdrop.
We announced last episode that 3 new cruise lines would be launching this month. We have more information on 2 of them. Explorers is a new expedition cruise line using the former Silver Explorer, which will be renamed the Explorers 1. Explorers is catering to French-speaking guests, and Explorer 1 will carry 120 guests to the polar regions beginning in the fall of 2023. And CFC is another French cruise line that we mentioned in our last episode. They are targeting the premium market using Holland America's former Mazda, which will be renamed the Renaissance. The Renaissance will begin 10 and 50 night sailings out of Le Havre next February before moving over to Marseille in September.
And with Disney Cruise news, Disney Cruise Line is sending the Disney Wonder to Australia and New Zealand in 2023. The Disney Wonder will be sailing 2 to 6 night cruises from Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and Auckland. There will be a repositioning cruise offered as well. The first is a 10-night sailing from Vancouver to Hawaii, and from Hawaii there's a 13-night sailing that visits American Samoa, Fiji, and New Caledonia before arriving in Sydney. Disney Wonder will return to North America in early 2024, and bookings for all these sailings open on September 26th.
That's going to be great to see the Wonder down under. And at D23, Disney Cruise Line announced the name of the 6th ship in the fleet, the Disney Treasure. It will set sail in 2024, and the atrium will feature a statue of Jasmine, Aladdin, and the Magic Carpet. Speaking of D23, we have a special guest today who was at D23. He's a great friend of both Darcy and I, a fellow member of the Dis Dads Club. Those of you who are not familiar with the Dis Dads may also recognize him from a couple of my last cruises. We cruised up to Alaska last July on the Celebrity Millennium, and then we did a test cruise last November on the Navigator's Seas. I'm speaking, of course, of Mr. David Van Cleve II. Mr. Van Cleve, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How are my 2 favorite travel advisors in Canada? Frankly, the world. What am I talking about? You guys are the best. That's all I have to say. And the second, you make me sound so official, like royalty or something. I'm just some guy, I appreciate it, though. Thank you for having me on your show.
Good to see you again, David.
Yeah, great to see you. First of all, what is D23?
D23 is, the D23 Expo in particular is a convention very similar to, I would compare it to Comic-Con. Everybody's heard of Comic-Con, but this is all things that Disney owns, which includes the cruise lines, includes parks and experiences. It includes, of course, the Disney Channel, Disney Animation, Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, ABC, ESPN. Anything that Disney owns in any way, shape, and or form is represented at the Anaheim Convention Center in this massive undertaking. Where they announce all their new movies that are coming out for the next few years. They make announcements about all the various parks. This is where we first heard about the Disney Treasure, where the name was announced. We first heard about the repositioning cruises down to Australia, which sounded fantastic. But they also shared a little bit that some new images about Lighthouse Point, which is going to be their new private island that's coming to the Bahamas. So they're adding that in addition to Castaway Key. They, Josh Tomorrow, the heads of Parks and Experiences, talked about how construction is actually happening now, which is fantastic. Generally speaking, if you're a Disney fan, it's the place to be. If you have the opportunity.
So D23, you have to be a D23 club member, right?
You have to be a member, but they do offer free membership, so it's super easy for anyone to attend. You get a little bit lower pricing if you pay for one of their membership levels, but it is a very low barrier to entry, for sure. The Expo, the big one where they make most of their announcements, is every 2 years typically. It's been 3 years because of COVID. Their last Expo is 2019, so this is a big deal for them to get everyone back in the room and to share some things, because they haven't had a lot to get excited about for a little while.
Like you said, this is where a lot of the big announcements come out. Can you tell us a little bit about what you heard, say, coming to Disneyland? Start on the West Coast, the original park.
Sure thing. If I'm, looking at Disneyland, they've got a couple of things that they've talked about. There's going to be a brand new fireworks show coming. I don't remember off the top of my head what the name of that was, but they also have a brand new show coming to their California Adventure Park. They've got new characters coming for meets and greets. You're going to very, very soon in Disneyland have the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda, Grogu, is going to be making appearances within Galaxy's Edge. One of the cool experiences that I saw while we were on the show floor at the actual convention center is the Parks and Experiences Pavilion, if you will, had Imagineers showing off all of the projects that they've been working on behind the scenes. And some of those things, very obvious what they are. Here is a nice, model of this new ride that we're building. Other things were a little bit more opaque. They had some great animatronics that they were working on, but they didn't tell you what they were for. And so you had these 3D printed muscle groups and these articulate hands that you saw Imagineers playing with, and you're like, that looks like it could be some sort of oversized big thing. And at the Expo, on their panel for the Parks and Experiences, you have this massive 12-foot tall, maybe even taller Hulk, fully articulate person walk out onto onto stage and do meet and greets.
I hope to see the Hulk when I go there in November. I think I'm going to miss the Mandalorian and Baby Grogu by a couple of weeks. It sounds like he's coming out maybe mid-November.
Hulk is supposed to be out in Avengers Campus starting this week.
Did you get any updates on Mickey's Toontown at all?
Mickey's Toontown, is looking fabulous in a lot of ways. They've actually really redone a lot of it. It's which is part of the reason it's been entirely closed. The entire area is getting a refresh. Gadget Coaster is getting slightly rethemed to Chip and Dale's Gadget Coaster. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, talking again to Imagineers there on the show floor. They talked about that they're constantly looking for ways to improve reliability, functionality, and there's a rumor, it's not confirmed, but there's a rumor that we're getting one additional scene that does not exist in Walt Disney World. So waiting to see if that actually happens. Looking at the entire land, part of that redoing the land, one of the things that another Imagineer pointed out on the diorama is there's no curbs anymore. There are curbs that are two-dimensional, like you would find in a cartoon land, but that is really done to enhance, the ability to push strollers and ECVs and wheelchairs. They've really worked to make the space more accessible. They've added more trees. They've added a lot more interactive play areas for kids. The whole thing is going to be a whole new land, basically.
I've seen some of the artwork for that, and yeah, it looks much more kid-friendly. And it's interesting because Mickey's Toontown closed the last time you and I were at Disneyland together. So was there any other big attraction coming to Disneyland?
Big attraction coming to Disneyland? Oh, yeah. Well, not Disneyland, but if we go across the street, Disney's California Adventure in Adventures Campus, it sounds like we're finally going to get the large e-ticket attraction that we were promised way back when, which is going to involve a Quinjet. We're going to be diving into the multiverse, helping the Avengers fight King Thanos, which we haven't seen yet. Well, we did see him at the Expo where they put some artwork up on the screen. So we've got this new exciting ride that's coming. They didn't give a specific date, but they are working on it. They're announcing it. They've announced the villain. So it is coming probably 2024 before we see it in the parks.
I'm definitely jealous of the two of you West Coasters, especially you, David, because you have such an easy time to get to Disneyland. Because I would love to see the Avengers Campus, but we all know that that's more than likely not coming to this side of the continent, at least anytime soon, for various reasons. But it looks incredible, and to see that they're adding to it is really cool.
Now, it's a fantastic place, and I would love to have you come visit. I just need to find a travel advisor that can book you a ticket, and I will show you around.
Yeah. So were there any other announcements for Disneyland Resort parks at all, or should we move over to some of the other parks around the world? I know they had some other announcements.
Really, in terms of around the world, most of the other parks in the world have a lot more announcements. At Disney World, so if we're staying here in the U.S., probably the biggest thing is they talked about Tron opening here in the spring. This brand new fantastic ride that is being imported over. They showed us a video of executives with the Disney company taking a ride on it. Not quite ready for those of us out in the public, but it is functional. It is working. They're just got to put the finishing touches on it, hire the new cast members, get them trained, and they should be opening here in spring of 2023, which is pretty fantastic. We also have some new meet and greets happening over at Epcot. You've got Figment coming to visit there. People are excited about that. You've got the new interactive Moana themed area, which we saw some examples of that. And my goodness, I totally forgot to talk about the Splash Mountain is being redone and going to be opening up as
Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
That's what it is. I was going to say Princess and the Frog, and I knew that it had an actual name, but I appreciate you being there and filling in the blank for me. So there are other things happening in the U.S., but there's a ton that's happening in the Asia parks, Disneyland Paris. There's 3 new Frozen rides that are currently in production. The Frozen Land Frozen attraction is the first one that's gonna open up will be in Hong Kong, Disneyland, at the second half of 2023. So here within a year, probably you're gonna see that open. Paris has got their own new garden area, new Frozen Land, new attraction, new hotel that's all in development right now, expected for 2024. And then Tokyo Disney Sea, one of the most fabulous Disney parks you can talk about quite well, Terry, is getting 3 new attractions as part of a Fantasy Springs Land expansion. It's going to include a new Frozen ride, new Peter Pan ride, new Tangled theme area with its own attraction. There is a ton going on in Tokyo Disney Sea, and it was wonderful to be at the Expo and see some of those things that are coming in. If I go back to Hong Kong, is getting a whole new Zootopia land, and they showed us some animatronics that are going into that, and it's going to blow people's minds away in terms of what they're able to do right now. So the development is constantly going.
So we talked a little bit off screen earlier about the experience, and you mentioned that the D23 Expo, it's the movies, it's the TV, it's Disney Plus, it's the parks, the cruise line, Disney Vacation Club, Adventures by Disney, all of that. They all have a booth there. But you were mentioning that one of the highlights for you was the Disney parks. Why exactly was that? Like, that sounds just so cool to me.
The Parks and Experiences Pavilion, pretty massive amount of space, had current Imagineers that are working on all these various projects from around the world in these parks are there standing next to displays of what's coming. And if you take the time to talk to them, you get these little tidbits. There's very limited what they can say before things are officially announced the next day, or 2 days later, depending on when their project is going to be announced. But you get to see what these new ride vehicles are going to look like. You get to pick people's brains. You get to talk to people who do not just the classic Imagineering, job. Sometimes it's somebody who works in procurement or, parts. These are specialty ride vehicles and specialty animatronics, and it's fascinating just to talk to these folks, and they have such a passion for it. They love what they do, even if it's just working with spreadsheets all day. They are super excited to talk to you about the projects that they see happening behind the scenes with them. I have a former 4-H robotics coach for my kids, and seeing some of the animatronics and the 3D printing that they're doing and the prototypes they have are just fascinating. They're 3D printing muscle groups that are, but it's not that hard, rigid plastic that you're looking at or you're thinking of. They've got all these different prototypes that they've made, and they took one off the wall and said, here, touch this, feel this, play with it. And it's lightweight, almost like a latex or a flexible rubber, so things can stretch and move, and great helix structure to it. So you've got that form and it bounces back. And for a Hulk, that's 2-3 times the size of a human person. So seeing some of their different early prototypes in terms of hands and arms that articulate and move, and videos of the Imagineers working on stilt systems, and they also had all of the different iterations of, say, the Spider-Man animatronic that you may have seen flying above Avengers Campus and showing us how they developed this thing. Really unique and interesting. You get to see examples of what's going on with the models for Mickey and Minnie's and Toontown. They also had brand new bronze vault statue that's going to be installed at Epcot. This is the statue. You could walk up to it, you can touch it, you can take pictures with it. As soon as the expo's done, it's getting shipped over to Walt Disney World. It's going to be installed, and you'll be able to visit and say, I saw that before anyone was here. And the other thing is, you're walking around this giant expo, and you'd never know who you're going to run into. And if you keep your eyes open, you're going to see Disney executives, you're going to see former Imagineers. Joe Brody is walking around on the sales floor or the convention floor. And Tony Baxter, I had friends see. I know I saw Josh D'Amaro walk right past me. This is the head of Disney Parks and Experiences. Those people are floating around. Bob Gurr is over in one corner. Garner Holt, who's responsible for so many animatronics, so many different things. It's for a theme park and specifically a Disney fan, it is a fantastic place to be. Anyway, I could talk on, and we're getting farther and farther away from travel news, but it really is a fantastic event. And if any of your viewers are Disney fans, they should be. Why aren't they? I would really recommend that they look at going to the expo in the future and booking a trip with you and making that happen, because it's not an experience you could repeat anywhere else at any other time.
We followed you in your pictures you're posting up to our groups, and that we weren't jealous at all.
The fact that you stayed a few extra days to experience the park itself didn't make anybody jealous either.
No.
It's such a fabulous experience, and I know that if you guys could be there, you would. And every time you guys are off talking about your new cruise or your new trip, I'm not jealous at all. So just so you know, not in any way, shape, and or form.
Well, thank you very much, David. Really appreciate your coming on and talking to us about your D23 experience, giving us a little bit of insight to what it's like to go to one of these expositions and get that one-to-one contact with people that you just don't normally have access to, and they're right there. You've got the Imagineers right there. You've got some of the absolute true Disney legends, some of the original guys out there on the floor meeting with people, and just to see them it shows you that this company has still got a soul. It's still got a family of enthusiasts working for the company as well.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. You guys do awesome stuff. I can't wait to see what comes next.
Moving on to other news here. Just really going to quickly wrap this up. We know we're going a little bit long here today, but this has been so cool to have David on there with us. Air Canada has ordered 30 Heart Aerospace ES-30s. These are regional electric planes with a capacity of up to 30 passengers and currently have a range of 200 kilometers. In an all-electric configuration, it can be configured with a hybrid model carrying 25 passengers with a maximum range of 800 kilometers. The ES-30s are expected to enter service as early as 2028. They're probably going to be on routes feeding Vancouver and perhaps short-haul routes like Edmonton to Calgary, Montreal to Ottawa. This one will make Darcy happy. Moncton to Halifax. They're small enough to be able to land at Toronto's Billy Bishop.
And finally, Canada Jetlines had its inaugural flight this week. We've talked about Canada Jetlines in the past. Many of our colleagues were able to attend a special event in Calgary this week because of Canada Jetlines. They flew a number of people from Toronto to Calgary and back after the night there. So from what we understand, it was quite an awesome event. And we like to congratulate Canada's newest jetline on their coming launch and wish them the clearest of skies.
So I think that's all for the news there today. Thanks again to David Van Cleve II for coming on our show there today. It was muchly appreciated. And if you're liking what you're seeing, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and the little bell to give you those notifications. From the West Coast, I'm Terry Hawkins, wishing you a very pleasant week. We'll be back in early October. Might be the second week of October. I'm just getting back on the 4th, so...
And from the East Coast, we're not jealous that Terry's headed to Europe for a river cruise at all. My name is Darcy. We'll see you next time.